Hello, I'm Bo Rugg, Senior Director of Officiating and Sport Management and the Boys Lacrosse Administrator at the Ohio High School Athletic Association. Welcome to the Boys Lacrosse 2020 Rules and Regulations Interpretation Meeting. Please read this slide before advancing. We've had some problems with the Chromebook devices recording attendance for the users. We strongly recommend you use a different device. Here are some great resources for you that will help answer questions. Realize you can always email me on any questions that you may have concerning lacrosse. The 2020 NFHS Boys Lacrosse Rules, the 1920 OHSAA Handbook, and the OHSAA Coach's Guide are great resources. The Coach's Guide and the Handbook you may access online at www.ohsaa.org. Each school is required to complete the rules interpretation meeting. This records the time you spend on how many screens you view. Please don't call us for verification. It takes about 5 to 7 days. Athletic directors and coaches can check their MyOHSAA profile for proof of attendance. The purpose of this presentation is to give you an understanding of OHSAA administrative rules, as well as the new NFHS rule changes and points of emphasis. While high school boys lacrosse coaches are required to take this meeting, we encourage all assistant, JV, freshman coaches, and any volunteer coach to look at this presentation because all coaches are under the same regulations. Remember, for boys lacrosse, practice may begin on February 24th, but all teams must have a 3-day acclimatization period. That's in Boys Lacrosse Sports Regulation 1.10. Athletes joining the team for the first time at any point during the season must participate in the 3-day period. From now until February 24th, you need to make sure all your coaches are certified. You can weight lift and condition, have open gym or open field. Those are under General Sports Regulations 9 and 10. Remember, the Individual Instruction Regulation 8.2 lets you teach individual skills. Regular season will begin on March 20th. The Ohio Administrative Code and OHSAA bylaws require all coaches to meet the Ohio Department of Education standards to receive a pupil activity permit. This includes all volunteer coaches as well as paid coaches at all levels. We're going to talk about some non-mandatory activities in the next several slides. First, open gym or open nets. That's found in General Sports Regulation 10. You can't coach or instruct during this, and you can't run drills. You can't do any timing or scorekeeping. Coaches may play, but they can't coach. As far as weightlifting and conditioning, that's in General Sports Regulation 9. You can't include specific sports skills or training or instruction. They can be conducted at any time, but they cannot be conducted for select group of students. Individual instruction, found in General Sports Regulation 8.2, may happen anytime outside the season, with the exception of the no contact period in August. You can do shooting techniques, wall ball, ground balls, individual skills, anything you want, but you can't do team drills or scrimmage, and you can't ever have more than 4 present at any time. Boys Lacrosse Regulation 2.6 talks about indoor lacrosse. You can't have more than 7 players or fewer than 2. In indoor lacrosse, the OHSAA's out-of-season player restrictions are not a factor, except if your school coach is coaching. then the 50% rule is in effect. General Sports Regulation 7.9 permits 10 instructional days between June 1st and July 31st. As far as team play is concerned, that's if you're coaching more than 5 players. If you're coaching a team with 5 or less, that doesn't count in these 10 instructional days. This is permitted per staff, not individual coaches, and junior high days are separate from high school days. As far as individual instruction is concerned, remember you can only have 4 at a time. If you have 5, this will count as one of the days. If you instruct 100, it counts as one of the days. So use these days wisely. Remember the change last year that all school coaches may coach players in all grades 7 through 12 outside the season in club or travel games as long as the 50% limitation is in effect. You may not coach more than 5 players from your school on the same team. Scrimmages may begin as soon as full contact is permitted, and each high school is permitted to play in 3 scrimmages per season. Teams may play games anytime against a bordering state school, but if you're playing in a non-bordering state, you may only do this one time during the season, and students may not, under any circumstances, miss any school time for travel or competition. Unfortunately, ejections happen. Let's go over some of the rules as it relates to ejections. For coaches, they're out for all games the remainder of that day and all contests until 2 at that level of competition are complete. Coaches must leave the site, they'll pay a $100 fine, and they will complete the NFHS course online. Players are also out for all games the remainder of the day, and all contests until 2 at that level of competition are complete. Players stay in the bench area for the remainder of that game. They may travel to away games while they're suspended, but they cannot be in uniform and they may not participate in warm-up. All ejections have their own story, but any official's decision in a game cannot be appealed, and that includes ejections. There are no appeals. If you don't like the officiating, don't take your team off the field and quit. If you have a problem, contact the hiring entity. That could be your assigner, the school, or the league in regular season, and it would be our office during tournament play. Coaches and officials must complete the concussion course every 3 years. There's a new concussion course for players on the nfhslearn.com site. I highly encourage you to have your players look at this presentation. We have a tournament selection process that puts officials into pools. Coaches rate officials, and we have others that vote. Instructions for rating officials are on page 18 of the Coach's Guide. We highly encourage you to rate officials. Someone is responsible for the administration of games. We must ensure the safety of officials, deal with unruly fans, and handle medical emergencies and any crisis management or weather issues. Someone has to be responsible. It might be you as the coach. Please get the officials involved with game administration when you have any issues. Uniform and equipment regulations are found in the NFHS Boys Lacrosse Rules, Rule 1, Section 9. There are no exceptions to the equipment rules. Field diagrams are also located in the NFHS rule books. We do allow the unified field as an option, but we will be playing neutral site tournament games and our state tournament on gender-specific lines. The OHSAA safety policies in regards to inclement weather are now in line with the National Federation. You may see these in the NFHS Boys Lacrosse Rulebook on page 103. Any lightning seen or thunder heard, evacuate the field and take cover. The 30-minute rule may be in effect. It is always in effect if thunder is heard. Under certain conditions, if there is lightning seen but no thunder, it may be a distant storm, and in these cases, we may be able to continue play. The coaches, administrators, and officials will get together to determine this. When lightning is seen and there is no thunder, you may use a mobile device or any technology to determine if it's safe to play. The coaches, the administrators, and the officials need to get together to make this decision. You can't depend on this technology all the time, but there are certain conditions where it may be safe to play. Remember, if you have had a delay, you may shorten or eliminate halftime. That is up to the game administrators and the coaches whether they would like to do this. If we have a delay, all players and coaches must be out of the field area during the suspension. Game administration, coaches, and officials must work together on inclement weather issues. A game that cannot be completed for any reason will be treated as a suspended or interrupted game. If the game is to be continued, it will be continued from the point of interruption. Games must be completed unless both coaches agree not to complete the game. By mutual agreement of the opposing coaches and the referee, any period may be shortened or the game may be terminated. 9th through 12th grade athletes may play in a maximum of 92 quarters for the season, plus the OHSAA tournament. Coaches are responsible for the tracking. A change last year, a player is permitted to play in a maximum of 2 games per day, up to a maximum of 6 quarters per common opponent, except for play days. Overtime is considered the extension of the 4th quarter and does not count as an additional period. Remember, you're allowed 3 scrimmages and 18 regular season contests. Only high school varsity games will play overtime. Varsity games cannot end in a tie. Play by NFHS overtime rule, which is Rule 4, Section 29. Recruiting is more and more of a concern. Any activity that attempts to influence a student's enrollment or transfer to a member school is impermissible. Some permissible activities are mass marketing by the school itself to a general population, not named individuals. Open houses on campus that provides all elements of the school's programs are permissible. Invitations to the general population to visit, shadow, provided the visit is related to all aspects of the school's program and the administration approves. Advertising of the entire school program is permissible, but not just for sports. You can invite groups to a game or event, provided it is extended to the entire group. It's approved by the school and the organization's administration, but you can't let the group run onto the playing surface, come into the locker room pre-game, have a pre-contest meal, or any interaction with the team prior to or after the contest. Some more impermissible activities are direct mailings or any type of electronic communication, text, email, social media posts to a specific individual or individuals. Meeting with or marketing to a select athletic group, for example, an 8th grade team. Before official acceptance or enrollment into a school, a coach cannot have contact with the student or contact with the students or parents, except, of course, at an approved event that it's an open house. Remember, don't distribute publications solely advertising athletics. and don't provide favors or inducements. Providing financial aid on the basis of athletic ability is impermissible. And if you leave one school and your students follow you to another school, this creates a rebuttable presumption of recruiting. Protect yourself and the students. Refer all questions to your senior administrator, principal, or head of admissions. Disclose any and all contact from parents or others to your senior administration immediately. Know that violations may produce suspension from OHSAA tournaments and ineligibility for student or other institutional penalties. Check your rosters. Students who go to one school from another are ineligible unless they meet one of the 9 exceptions. If they don't, they're ineligible after Game 9, and they may not play in postseason tournaments. Comments to the news media is not being in front of a microphone anymore. This includes Facebook, Twitter, any type of social media. Please think first before you make a comment to the media. Check the tournament regulations to know what's going on in relation to all of the dates you need to know for the tournament. The boys' draw will be on May 10th, and the tournament will run from May 16th through June 6th. We don't consider distance traveled to a contest or a team playing on multiple fields as an issue. Rain or less than ideal field conditions is not an issue, unless of course we have lightning, and then we'll be suspending play. And we'll play on the best surface that we can find between the two schools. The NFHS Rules Review Committee makes rule changes every year. Lee Spitzer, our Director of Officiating Development, will now talk about this year's rule changes and some of our points of emphasis.
Association, I want to take this opportunity to welcome you to the 2020 OHSAA Boys Lacrosse Rules Interpretation Meeting. I am Lee Spitzer, OHSAA Director of Officials Development for Boys Lacrosse. If you are using a Chromebook, we strongly recommend you stop and use a different device to view this presentation. If you choose to proceed with using a Chromebook, be aware that your attendance may not be recorded or the presentation may stop. All users should take a screenshot of the last slide of this presentation as proof of completion in the event it is not automatically awarded and this screenshot is requested by OHSAA. As Director of Development for Boys Lacrosse, I am also the state rules interpreter. If any rules questions come up in the course of the season, please don't hesitate to contact me either by phone or email. During the season, I will be sending out periodic updates on rules, mechanics, and game situations. You should have received the 2020 Boys Lacrosse Rules Book in your officials mailing. If you did not, please contact Ben Faree at bfaree@ohsaa.org or call the OHSAA office at 614-267-2502. The 2020 NFHS Boys Lacrosse Rules ebook and Rules app are now available from NFHS and can be easily downloaded to your mobile device. The rule changes and interpretations to be discussed are not subject to change or modification. Any statement or question indicating displeasure with a rule, its interpretation, or attempting to promote a change in the rule or interpretation is not in order at this time. We must learn and play by the rules set forth. Any person having questions about an interpretation of the NFHS Boys Lacrosse rules should contact the Boys Lacrosse Rules Interpreter designated by the OHSAA. OHSAA requires all boys lacrosse officials to attend 4 local rules meetings and 1 state rules meeting, either on-site or online. Our number 1 priority each time we take the field must be the safety and welfare of the players. Call the safety fouls. In this presentation, we will cover the 2020 Boys Lacrosse rule changes, the 2020 points of emphasis, review the 2019 points of emphasis, and address some important OHSAA policies and procedures. Let's look at the rule changes for 2020. Rule 191 puts in place new standards for shoulder pads and goalie equipment. NOXI ND 200 protection will be available for all field players and goalies in the fall of 2019 by 3 separate lacrosse companies. This change will provide Commodio Cordis protection for all lacrosse players. Goalie chest protector requirements begin January 1st of 2021, and field player shoulder pad requirements begin January 1st of 2022. Rule 272 addresses the responsibilities of the chief bench official. This rule change requires the CBO to only count too many players on the field. The requirement to count too few players on the field has been eliminated. A team with fewer players on the field is not gaining an unfair advantage by having fewer players. If they do gain an advantage by a player running on the field later during play, then it is the delayed substitution. By removing or too few, an increased pace of the game should occur. Rule 4.5 and its sections clarifies play of the ball definitions to include restart, shot, and airborne players. Rule 4.2.2 changes the restart procedure to allow a defender to be closer than 5 yards to the offensive player with the ball. However, the defensive player may not defend the player in possession of the ball until that player reaches a distance of 5 yards from the defending player and allows the player in possession of the ball a direct path to the goal. Any offensive player must establish a 5-yard distance from the player in possession of the ball. The penalty for the defense is a 30-second technical foul for delay of game. The penalty for the offense is loss of possession. Rule 4.27.6 clarifies all concussion timeouts are charged as an official's timeout. Rule 4.25.7 is now deleted. Rule 5.5. This rule change simplifies the existing rules for illegal sticks and allows players the opportunity to correct the issue. All deep pocket and stick measurement violations are now a 2-minute non-releasable penalty. The 1-minute deep pocket and the 3-minute measurement penalties from previous years have been eliminated. All sticks may now return to the game once they are corrected. Rule 5.10. Throwing a stick at the ball, a player, or other game personnel is now unsportsmanlike conduct. The penalty for throwing a stick is a 1 to 3 minute releasable unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. Rule 6.1.1 clarifies the awarding of a technical foul. If the team fouled has possession of the ball, or there is a flag down on the offending player's team, the penalty shall be a 30-second suspension of the offending player. If the ball is loose and there's no flag down, award the ball to the team that was fouled. These changes make 6.1.1 consistent with the Rule 7.8.2 slow whistle technique changes made in 2019. Rule 6.2.1 clarifies the administration of crease violations and goalie interference. When the defensive team has possession of the ball, infringements of the rules involving the crease shall be penalized as follows, rather than under the general rules for technical fouls. If there is no flag down, any crease violation or interference with the goalkeeper of a technical nature while the ball is in possession of the defensive team outside the crease shall result in a slow whistle flag down situation. If there is no flag down, any crease violation or interference with the goalkeeper while he and the ball are in the crease, whether or not he has possession of the ball, shall be a play on. If the goalkeeper has possession and fails to run the ball out of the crease or to successfully complete an outlet pass, the ball is awarded to his team in its offensive side of the field at the center. If the ball is loose in the crease and the goalkeeper gains possession, the play on is over. If there is a flag down on a team that commits a crease violation or goalkeeper interference, it shall be an immediate whistle for the second foul, whether there is possession or not, and regardless of the ball location. Both the initial foul and the crease violation or the goalkeeper interference shall be time serving. Rule 6.5.2. The current wording in section B1 contradicts Rule 510. Throwing across at a shot, pass, or another player or game personnel is unsportsmanlike conduct and not a conduct foul. Now let's look at the 2020 boys lacrosse points of emphasis. They are sportsmanship and conduct of players and coaches, player safety, improving the pace of play, and addressing changes in equipment and uniforms for future years. Expanded explanations of these points of emphasis can be found on page 94 of the NFHS Boys Lacrosse Rulebook. Let's review and reinforce the points of emphasis from 2019. Just because we have new points of emphasis for 2020 doesn't mean we forget and don't officiate the previous year's points of emphasis. They were stalling, targeting, holding, and warding. Here are some reminders for the 2020 season of important OHSAA policies and procedures for inclement weather, concussions, and ejections. Let's look at the revised thunder and lightning policy. If thunder is heard, the game will be stopped and the 30-minute clock kicks in with no exceptions. If lightning is seen but no thunder heard, the game will be stopped and the game administrator, referee, and head coaches will convene and determine what type of delay will be administered. If there is lightning in the area, the 30-minute clock kicks in. At night, under certain atmospheric conditions, lightning flashes may be seen from distant storms. In these cases, it may be safe to continue. If no thunder can be heard and the flashes are low on the horizon, the storm may not pose a threat. Independently verified lightning detection information would help eliminate any uncertainty. If any member of the group assessing conditions is uncertain, delay for 30 minutes. Lightning detection devices may be used to stop the contest if lightning is in the area, usually within 10 miles, even if it's not seen or thunder heard. Err on the side of safety. If there is a delay, players, coaches, and officials must clear the field and seek cover. Halftime may be shortened or eliminated. If officials fail to follow the policy, they could be suspended for up to 2 years. Again, all players, coaches, and officials must be off the field during this delay. The game officials must check whenever a player is injured. A player with concussion symptoms is suspended from the game and may not re-enter. Any out-of-state team must follow the Ohio law. A player suspended from a game due to concussion may not re-enter. Any Ohio team playing in another state must follow the Ohio law, and the player concussed cannot re-enter the game. To re-emphasize, a player may not return to the game or subsequent games on that day due to a concussion or concussion symptoms. It is prudent for us to review the protocol for officials following an ejection. Following an ejection, the official that gave the ejection is required to make contact with the athletic director or principal of the violator's school to advise the administration of the ejection. The official then files a report online in the MyOHSAA system with the OHSAA. Be specific in your report. Upon this electronic submission, the report is automatically sent electronically to the OHSAA and copied to the school's athletic director. All player and coach ejections are final and are not permitted to be appealed per the OHSAA policy. This concludes the Boys Lacrosse State Online Rules Meeting. Please be sure to check your MyOHSAA profile for attendance verification. Please take a picture of this last slide to verify you're completing the 2020 Boys Lacrosse Rules Interpretation if your attendance is questioned. Thank you.